Great. So this session is all about answering your questions and doubts about how you can fund your program at DSM. So I'll be taking you through the process. I'll explain the scholarship bit and the payment plans that we have, and then we will take your questions. And I really want a lot of engagement from you all. So if you have questions, please put them down in the chat box, or just unmute yourself and ask me. It'll be glad if I can read those questions. It'll be easy for me to just uh, this. Just stay on mute, please. Right. Okay. Um, Great. So from this lot, I just want to know how many of you are already in the process of filling up your application form. Just raise your hands. Just click on that icon and raise. I just want to know. Okay. 5, 6, 6 people. Okay. Out of like 41 people in the room, there are only 6, 7 people who are just right now filling up the application form. All right. Okay. I am sure that just all of you have gone through the brochure and you've read the details about the scholarships and the alternative payment plans that we have, the installment plan procedure that we have. So the process pretty much is you fill up the application form, you fill in your details of which scholarship you want to apply. Everyone who's joining the room, please just stay on mute. Okay, great. Right. So you mentioned the details of the scholarship that you want to apply. So there are two kinds of scholarships that we are offering, the merit scholarship and the need-based scholarship. So as the name suggests, merit scholarship is based on your merits, on your achievements. So the process is very simple. You have to write a statement of purpose explaining why do you want to apply for the scholarship and what are your goals, like how this course is going to help you achieve your objectives, achieve your goals. Like what are you going to do once you graduate from the school? That will form your statement of purpose and also list down your achievements in the statement of purpose. Your statement of purpose need not be like more than 500 words. It has to be a one-pager document or one and a half page document. It doesn't have to be like stories of 3-4 pages. We don't need to get into so many details of what happened in your life, but we just want to understand your thought, where you're coming from, what do you aim to achieve after doing this program, what are your goals, how this course is going to help you, and what are your achievements. Okay. And if you've ordered this scholarship, how are you going to make use of that? Like, of course, it is going to help you in your training, but how are you going to ensure that that you've received the scholarship and you're making the best use of your training once you graduate from the school? And then list down your achievements. And you have to also provide a documentary proof of all those achievements that you've listed. So I can give you a few examples if you're struggling with to understand that what are the things that you need to list down. So if you've if you've received an award for your performance, that is a kind of achievement. You need to provide photographs or certificates or any other document that supports that gives us a proof that you've received an award. uh, you wrote an article or you wrote a research paper that was published, you wrote a play maybe, or you directed a play, or photographs of that, or credits, or showreel, or your performance was appreciated somewhere. So there's a mention in a newspaper article about your performance or about the play that you were doing. All these things form part of your merit scholarship. So anything and everything that you feel can support your application, you have to attach that as part of your merit scholarship. And the process is like, once we are done with the auditions, we announce a short list of people who are selected for the course. And then within a few days of announcing that list, we call all those people who have applied for scholarship. So for example, there's a short list of 20 people who are selected for the course. Of course, you need to confirm your admission first. So the first thing is, you need to tell the school whether you want to take up the seat this year or not. So you confirm your seat by paying a token amount or holding amount. Okay. And then the process of scholarship starts. Unless you confirm your seat for the course, we won't be able to take up your scholarship application. So out of those 20 people, for example, out of those 20 people, there are 10 people who've applied for merit scholarship. But from those 10 people, only 8 take up the seat, 2 drop out or 3 drop out. Okay, so only those people who have confirmed their seat, their applications will be considered for the scholarships. And the scholarship interviews usually happen within 10 days, 5 to 10 days of announcing the final selected list, the short list of people who've been selected for the course. So you will get 3-4 days to confirm your seat. You need to confirm your admission to the school, and then immediately your scholarship application will be forwarded to the panel. They will go through your applications, they will call you for an interview. So there are 2 levels. The school is going to read your application, and then the panel is also going to read the application who's going to interview you. After the interviews are done, the scholarship awards are given to the students. So that's how the process is. And it's the same process for need-based scholarship, but the only difference is in the documents that you need to attach for need-based scholarship. So need-based scholarship is essentially based on your need, your requirement, your financial status. And we understand there are people who are deserving to be a part of the course, but are not able to pay for the course. And we really don't want money to be an issue for you guys. So we are offering that need-based scholarship. And for that, you need to send across documents. It's written in the brochure. I'm sure you must have read that. You need to attach statement of purpose that will explain about your objectives, what you want to do, and how are you going to make use of the scholarship, and then also list down your financial situation and talk about how many earning members of the family you have. How are you supporting your education? Are you completely on your own, or your family is helping you also? Whatever the situation is, you need to explain that in the statement of purpose. And then attach documents, your bank statement, your income proof. Income proof is very important. And for all those people whose parents are in service, so income proof can be of 2-3 kinds. It could be a pay slip, it could be your ITR, it could be a letter from the employer. But people whose candidates whose parents are doing business, they have their own business, ITR can only be the income proof for them, because we don't really have a pay slip there, right? So, and a breakup of family income is also very important, because we need to know that how many people are there, and how many people are you dependent on for your education. Okay, and what are their annual incomes? That will really help us, give us an idea of where you're coming from, and the panel will be in a better position to offer you a scholarship. And we only offer 20 to 50% scholarship of the fees, 20 to 50% of the fees. So we don't offer full scholarship. So the balance, you will have to arrange the balance amount on your own. And that's up to you. Want to pay the balance amount in lump sum, or you want to offer an installment plan, you can do that. I mean, these are the options that we have for you. So we are not asking you to pay the fees in lump sum altogether. We have an installment plan for you. You can opt for that installment plan. Uh, and for the installments also, we will require these documents from you, the documents that we have listed for the need-based scholarship. It's important because in the past there were cases when the students negotiated a lot for the installment plan. So we have a procedure where we give you a payback period of 4 months or 5 months at the max to pay your entire fees, and we don't charge you any interest on that. All right. So the payback period is very less. So there is one installment plan for that. But if you want an extended installment plan, like for 7 months or 8 months, then we have an external organization. We have a tie-up with that external organization, and you have to go through that, and they will charge you a little bit of interest, maybe 4 to 5%. Okay, but the direct installment plan is essentially we will give you the payback period is 4 to 5 months, and we have a set installment plan for that, and you need to pay your installments according to that. But if you want to negotiate, if there are certain changes in the installment plan, then we might have to call you for an interview and understand what is your situation, and how we can help you, and if there are any changes that we need to make in the installment plan. So that's pretty much the procedure. Even for the need-based scholarship, you guys will be called for an interview to understand what's the financial situation, and how are you. Yep. So how are you managing your expenses, and what are you thinking? How are you planning to pay for the course? So, and in the last few years, we have identified there are few students at DSM who opted for crowdfunding, and they managed to pay the entire fees through crowdfunding. And I have one alumni with me in this room today, Falguni Rao. Uh, she's from the 2019-20 batch, the batch that graduated last year. Falguni managed to pay her fees completely, the entire fees through crowdfunding. So I don't know the exact amount. Falguni will be able to tell you that in detail. And I invited Falguni to tell you about the crowdfunding process, because that's really an option that's opened up. We were unaware of it, but when the students started applying for crowdfunding, we realized that's an interesting option, and we actually, the candidates can get a lot of help through crowdfunding. There are students who are opting for crowdfunding for their higher education. So that's a good option, and I would like Falguni to just uh, Falguni, are you there in the room?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, thanks for coming.
No worries.
I'm sure everyone's interested in knowing about what's crowdfunding, and what's the process of crowdfunding. How do you apply for that? How these organizations help you set up a campaign and reach out to people. So it will be great if you can just explain that process in detail, and then we can just take up questions from the participants also.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. So as Shruti mentioned, for my course, I had crowdfunded the entire fee. So basically what I did is, once DSM confirmed that, they have accepted me into their program, I set up a crowdfunding campaign on a crowdfunding platform called Keto. It's KETTO. There are many such platforms out there. There's Millap, there is GoFundMe, there's a lot of stuff out there. But of all of them, I found Keto was best suited to my interest, because there wasn't a cap on how much money I would get. So whatever I raised, I would get that much amount. So for example, in some other on some other websites, if you don't reach your target amount, they don't give you the money that you've raised. So I decided to go ahead with Keto. I set up a campaign page on their website, explaining what I want, what I need. And basically after that, I just began sharing that with every single person I knew. And that includes people I haven't spoken to as well, like who are on your social media lists and all of that, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you can think of. And then through midway through the process, like, a lot of people reached out to me. Some of them said they didn't want to pay through the platform, because sometimes the platform charges a certain amount of fee, platform fees karke. So it was, at that time, for 7 to 8% of the entire amount. So they suggested that that's when they suggested they GPay me the money or do a direct transfer. So I gave that option to people. There might be some people who will be there might be some people who will be comfortable sending you the amount directly rather than sending it via the platform. So I did that, and it took me about a month or so to get the entire amount of fee. Yeah, and don't, and I would suggest, when if you want to go down the crowdfunding route, don't think too much of what people will think. You just put yourself out there and send it to every single person you have on your contact list, on any this thing, on your WhatsApp or uh Facebook or Instagram or anything. Yeah, that really helped. And like other people amplified it, and then there were people who I didn't know also who were contributing to the campaign. So yeah.
So Falguni, how do they set up this campaign for you? Is it a video campaign? How is it? How does it work? Like, what are the details that they ask from you and then you share? Can you just explain that procedure?
Yeah, so on Keto, they asked basically you set up an account and then you start a campaign. They ask certain details like description of the campaign. So in that you can write why you are asking for this money. Basically you put a case for why you are so interested in theater and all of that, and that you have secured admission at DSM. Sometimes some people, what they do is they put that acceptance letter saying, hey, we have actually got an admission from this place, and that and I think they also ask for your PAN card so that they know that you're a real person.
Okay. So
And
for crowdfunding also, you need to give them a proof that you've secured your admission at the school.
no, you don't have to give them a proof. But it's up to you if you want to put up that. And then there's a campaign manager that contacts you, and you iron out like the finer details with them. But I would suggest you do go for crowdfunding once your admission is like secure, like you've gotten into the program.
Right. It's also very important because unless you confirm your admission, we won't know. And then we would ask, because we also have, apart from the shortlist, we also have a waiting list. So if we don't hear from you, we will ask the waiting list to come up and confirm their seats. So you need to confirm your admission first, and then we can go ahead talking about how you can pay your balance payment. So your holding amount is going to be, we will let you know the holding amount before like during the time of the auditions. When you apply, we will let you know how much holding amount you need to pay. So your balance payment is going to be minus the holding amount, and that balance payment you can pay in installments or apply for crowdfunding or just pay in lump sum.
You don't require an SOP like for crowdfunding. Basically, you have to write down like why should anyone contribute to this campaign of yours. In terms of, you can write about you've been doing theater for a really long time, you're really interested in it, and now you have this opportunity, but you're unable to secure the funds for that. You've tried loans and everything. So the more transparent you are, the better for you. So I mean, it is an SOP sort of, but not like a formal thing. It's basically giving the reader, as in whoever comes across your campaign, more details about your journey.
And how much do they charge you? Serve, like they have a service charge also, right? Because they're helping you set up the campaign.
Yeah, so they had, at that time it was like 7 to 8% of the total amount you raise finally. And but now, like because of COVID, I saw there were many platforms and that are not taking platform fees. So on Keto also it happened. There were some campaigns which didn't have any platform fees applicable. So I mean, that is something you'll have to check once
Check
again.
with them, because that keeps on changing, I'm sure. But yeah. So you will have to check with the Ghetto once and see what are the charges, if they're charging a platform fee right now or not. Um Guys, I see that many of you are just stay on mute, please, because it's causing a lot of disturbance while we're speaking in between. Yeah. All right. Okay. Any questions? Any follow-up questions for Falguni for the crowdfund campaign? We have a few questions coming up in the chat window. Okay. Ralph is asking, what if we've taken part in plays including acting, directed, written, and that were a part of workshop that use performing arts as a means of expression? There are no certificate for such activities. Yes, you can mention that, but essentially we will require certificates because certificates are a proof of whatever activity you've done, whatever plays of you've done. If you've directed a play or performed somewhere, any kind of, it could be a certificate, it could be anything else, it could be like a mention in the newspaper, that could give us a proof that you were a part of this play, or a pamphlet or a brochure or a pamphlet, a screenshot of that could also work, because essentially we will require, there are people who have, this has happened in the past, they've mentioned that they have done this work, and they were unable to provide us any kind of proof of the work that they've mentioned in the statement of purpose, and that really doesn't count for your scholarship application, and the scholarship application was rejected. So it's very important for you to provide proof of whatever you're mentioning in your statement of purpose. Can we get more than 50% scholarship? And if not, can we apply for other 50% from other organizations? You are free to apply to other organizations. That's up to you completely. But we don't offer more than 50% scholarship. So 20 to 50% is something that's the range that we have, and it completely depends upon your documents and your interview. So yeah, that's where the decision is taken. So there's no standard amount ke merit scholarship ke students ko itna hi amount milega, or need based scholarship ko itna hi amount milega. That really varies from student to student, especially with the need based scholarship. I've been taking part in skits and school dramas, including community groups, a lot. However, I wouldn't have certificates. No, Ralph, that won't be, because I understand that we do take part in skits and lots of short programs happening in schools and colleges, but essentially we would require proof of something that you've done, something that has been acknowledged and recognized somewhere, and that could really add to your merit application. And like I said, that proof is really very important. And having said that, I understand there are people who are not coming from a theater background. There are complete freshers also. So if you've had achievements in any other field, please feel free to mention that. Just mention that in your merit scholarship, because I remember there were people in the past who didn't had much theater experience, but had a lot of achievements in sports. So that's what they mentioned in their merit scholarship application. The applicant, that person didn't get a scholarship because the interview didn't went very well, but there is no criteria for that. So you just list down all the details, all the achievements you had, and like I said, that it depends upon the panel. They will go through your applications, they will call you for an interview, and then they will decide what exactly, how much, do you receive a scholarship award or not. After official selection, how many days do we get to confirm that we are taking the seat? How many days do we get to raise fund and confirm admission? So you need to pay your holding amount within the first week of getting to know that you've been selected for the course. So for example, if we announce on the 1st of October, and then you will get at least 7 days to confirm your admission. 5 to 7 days, that's the cap. So you have to confirm your admission, and then you can let us know how are you paying your balance amount, and we will give you a date for that, of course, and then you can discuss that with us as well, if you're paying in lump sum or installment plans. Yes, you get buffer days, like you will get time. To whom do we address the cover letter if we wish to pay installment? Just DSM, or to whomsoever it may concern. That's it. what happens to the booking holding amount if one doesn't want to go ahead with the admission, if they're not able to secure a scholarship or get crowdfunding. So you have to let us know within, if you're not taking up this, or if you've paid the holding amount and then you think that you won't be able to do the course due to some reason, you're not able to arrange the funds or whatever. There could be multiple reasons. This has happened in the past, but you have to let us know well in advance before the course starts, at least a week and a half or 15 days before the course starts, because then if you're not able to fill that seat, we won't be able to refund the holding amount. If you're able to fill that seat, yes, your holding amount will be refunded. But we need to know well in advance if you want to drop out of the course, because then it becomes really a big problem for us. Because imagine you paid the holding amount, you said you will be paying your balance amount where after the course starts. Your first installment is due 10 days after the course start. I'm just giving you an example. Okay. And just 2 days or 3 days before the course begins, you just tell us that I'm not able to arrange for the funds and I want to drop out. Then just 3 days before the course, it will really become difficult for us to call somebody from the waiting list and confirm their seat. So in that case, we are losing out on a seat. So it's important for you all to make a wise decision whether you want to take up the seat this year or not, and let us know well in advance so that we can fill up that seat. Naveen, I would like you to just check your audio settings because your mic is going on, like, yes, there's a lot of disturbance from your side. Thank you, Naveen. Yeah, that's what I meant. So if you tell well in advance, we will refund your holding amount. Just a second, I have a lot of questions. Can someone apply for both NEET based and merit based scholarship? Yes, you can apply for both the scholarships. Who is this person? Please, can you just rename yourself? Oppo A5. How do I address you? Otherwise, please just rename yourself in the participant section. Is education loan facility available in DSM? No, we don't provide education loan facility at DSM. We just have the installment plan and the scholarship application, scholarship procedure. Um, yes, even after getting the scholarship, you can avail the installment plan for the balance amount. Yes, you can. But if due to some reason, what if one can't make it to the residential course? Will we get the remaining? No. So this is very important for all of you to know that this is a one-year program with 2 semesters. The first semester is foundation semester that will happen online. It's a digital course. And the second semester is the residential semester. So if you're applying for the course, you're applying for this full one-year program. So if you're applying for this program, you're applying for this full year program. You cannot drop out in between. And if you want to drop out in between, your fees will not be refunded because you've already done half of the course and then we won't be able to refund your fees. So it's a full year program. There is no option to drop out in between. These are not 2 courses. This is one course with 2 semesters. Which documents are required when you opt for installments? Lobsang, it's available in the brochure. Please go to the brochure. The same documents that you require to submit for your need-based scholarship, the same documents you have to submit for your installments also. Vaishali, do we need to provide financial documents in case of installment option? Yes, we might require. See, there is a standard installment plan that we have. We will share that with you. Okay, if you want to negotiate that installment plan, if you can't pay through that procedure, through those set 4-5 installments that we have told you, then we will definitely require, and that's why we have mentioned those details in the brochure, that we will require all these details to help to understand what exactly is your financial situation, how. So okay, let me give you an example. In one of the previous batches, there was a student who who was completely managing his education on his own. He lost his parents at a very early age, and then he was living with his guardians. And those guardians were also, they were just getting their pension. They were managing house expenses through their pension. So, and whatever money this student had was like whatever he saved from his previous job. So the installment plan we offered to that student didn't really work for him. Okay. And unless like, so it was very important for us to know that what are the how much funds that person has, how much saving that person has. If we get to know that, we will be able to give you a better installment plan. So there are such case studies as well. So we know कि एक student है जो सिर्फ अपनी savings से course fee pay कर रहा है. So in that case, it might happen the standard installment plan that we are offering you might not work for you, which is fine. But having said that, we need to go through we will call you for an interview. We need to go through your documents. We need to understand that what is an optimal amount for you to pay each month. How many installments we can just like offer you कि अच्छा इतना installment है, आप installment में अपनी fees pay कर दो, इतने months लगेंगे आपको pay करने के लिए. So there's a conversation we need to have with you all. So that's what the procedure is. We are offering you this procedure just because we understand that there are deserving students who want to do this course, and we don't really want money to be that major problematic factor. Okay, I'm not able to arrange for the funds, but I want to do the course. So how do I do this? And that's why we offer you all the support we can to help you out with your education, with your training. Darshan, I am not taking up this question right now. I will answer this towards the end, or maybe just directly speak to me, because this webinar is essentially about your how do you can arrange for funds, and what are the payment plans scholarship options that we are offering you. Mayuri, will separate SOPs be needed if one is applying for scholarship as well as installment plan? Yes, of course. If you are applying for a scholarship and you're paying the balance amount in installment, no, then it's not required. But if you're applying for a merit scholarship ka SOP alag hoga, need based scholarship ka SOP alag hoga. And if you're not applying for scholarships, only applying for installments, yes, ek SOP required. I think it's mentioned in the documents already, in the brochure, I'm sorry.
Hi, madam.
If we don't apply for a scholarship or installment, then do we have to pay the full amount altogether at the beginning of the course? Yeah, if you don't have a scholarship, if you're not applying for installment, then the third option is lump sum. Right? You need to let us, that is the reason we've asked this question in your application form. So those who are filling up the application form, you must have seen this question in the form. How are you planning to pay your fees for the course? So we need to understand that, then only we'll be able to guide you. So if you've mentioned installments, okay, we will help you out with whatever installment plans we have. If you've mentioned scholarship, we will help you how you're writing your statement of purpose, what are the documents you're attaching, will they work or not. So that is the kind of assistance we provide all the applicants. So आपकी application जब आती है, so we read your application and we'll give you a feedback also. It may take some time. So that is the reason we ask all the applicants to submit their application well in advance. So we also get time to read your application and provide feedback on that, right? How old as the eldest student at DSM been? Tanya, this is the 8th batch going on. So the first batch graduated in 2014. So how old has the eldest student at DSM been? You mean to see you mean to ask the age? You want to know the age of the person? There is no age limit, and I think I don't know how is this relevant even, because first of all, we don't have an upper age limit at DSM. So even if you're 40 years old or 44 years old or 50 years old, you can still apply for the course. It completely depends upon the applicant. If you think you have that physical capability, if you think you can give this 1 year, you can commit to this 1 year training, why not? There is no upper age limit. Having said that, I can just tell you that I think the oldest student has been, I think, 50 years old now. Yeah, it was the fourth batch where we had two females, two women who were in their late 30s or 40s when they applied for the course. Age is not a factor where we decide your capabilities. It's completely on your talent, on your readiness to learn, on whether you want to commit yourself to this course or not, and how inclined you are and how dedicated you are towards your training, towards your performing to do this course. We only have a minimum age limit, which is 21 years old. Madhav, how many days time do we get to crowdsource the amount? Falguni, this is a question for you. Okay, no, sorry. How many days do we get to crowdsource the amount? How many days you need to arrange for that crowdsource? Falguni, could you help me answer this question, please?
Yeah, so I mean, there's no limit to how many days you can, what do you say, have a campaign, crowdfunding campaign for. So, like on Keto, I had put in like a month, like 28 July or something I had put. But then later you can extend the date also if you feel that you haven't gathered the amount you need, you can extend the date on that platform.
And were you able to arrange, I'm not able to recall, Falguni, were you able to arrange the entire amount before the admission, before the school started? Or did you pay your fees in installment?
No, I paid a month later. I mean, I had paid the whole holding amount and then I paid the remaining after I got the fund.
Right. So you need to pay a holding amount to confirm the seat, and you can opt for an installment plan. So अब आपने installment plan ले लिया है, and you're also crowdfunding your fees, right? So okay, very important question, Falguni. Do you get the money after the campaign ends or in the middle of the campaign? For example, if a student has opted for an installment plan, a monthly installment जा रहा है, तो crowdfunding से जितना भी पैसा आ रहा है, will they be able to get it in between and pay their installment, और जब campaign end होगा तभी आपको पूरा fund मिलेगा?
Keto Pay, I think they have an option where you can withdraw like 20% or 50% at different points in time. So yeah, it's up to you. Like, say you've raised 1 lakh so far, you can withdraw that 1 lakh and pay the school and then still continue the campaign.
Okay, thank you. That was an important question. So please note that. So whatever amount you've generated, you can withdraw that in between. And if you opted for an installment, you can just pay that in installment. How many seats are there in one batch? So we have one batches of 20 to 25 students essentially. This year we are taking 24 students. After paying the token amount, how long do we have to pay the lump sum? So there are different timelines that we've said. We will share the installment plan with you. We'll share the entire payment plan with you actually, that these are the days that you need to pay the holding amount, and then in the next 15 days or the 20 days you need to pay the amount in lump sum. Or when will your installment plan start? Like, will it start immediately after paying your holding amount, or will it start the next month? So there's a plan that we have made. We will share that with you. And having said that, there is no standard, so this is based on like we figure that every year based on the admissions that are happening. But there is a set date for the holding amount. Like I said, that within 5 days or 7 days, you have to pay your holding amount to confirm your admission. That's important. Should I get a seat? Would not coming from a theater background be a barrier? No, Ralph. We always tell everyone that freshers are also welcome to apply for the course. It's not necessary that you need to have a lot of experience or any kind of theater experience to do the course. This has happened in the past and we still maintain this. that the audition panel is looking for your rigor, for your readiness, for your commitment, and how inclined you are. What are your goals and objectives? So this is what we are looking for in the applicant. We are not only looking for talent. Talent is one thing, of course. But if you are ready, if you're committed to it, we are very sure that you're going to put your heart and soul in preparing for audition, and your auditions are going to be very good. And auditions happen in 3 levels. So the first round is a monologue round where we share a set of monologues with you. You have to choose one Hindi, one English monologue, or if you speak any other language, you can select a monologue from that language as well. You perform that monologue in front of the panel. The second round is where the panel will ask you to do certain things on the spot. They might ask you to change that monologue and perform that in a different setting, or they might give you certain instructions on the spot and ask you to perform that. The third round is your interview round. So all the 3 rounds that we have are essentially to assess your performance, where you're coming from, and are you ready to do the course or not. It doesn't matter if you have theater experience or not. We've had students in the past who didn't came from any kind of who've not done theater before, but who were very prepared and they performed well in the auditions, and the panel was very happy with the performance, and they said, okay, I can see some potential in this applicant, and I'm sure that if we take this person in the course, this person will perform really well. And that really happened. I can give you this example. Khushbu Baid from the 4th batch, she didn't had any kind of experience earlier, which her audition was amazing and the panel was really impressed with her. And the kind of performance, what the entire 1 year training, she did really work hard. And now she is working with TVF as a writer. She's an actor. She writes all their comedy sketches. I think we invited for Khushbu in the first webinar we did. It's there on our YouTube channel. I'm sure most of you have attended that webinar as well. So yeah, speak to Khushbu about it. She will tell you, and she's shared that example in the webinar also. And there are many such examples. I'm just like, Khushbu's name just comes to me readily in the mind because I know her very well. But there are many such examples, and there are people. There was a person in my batch also who used to write a lot in theater, but never really performed a lot of shows. But he was selected for the course. So yeah, this is no barrier. For the DSM collaboration with the INLAX Foundation, how do you go about it? If you could please elaborate. Gagi, so the process essentially is, like I said, that you have to submit your documents to DSM. Okay. Once you do that, the school is going to go through your applications and then forward it to the panel, the INLAX panel. And then they will call you for an interview. So that's the collaboration we have. Your scholarships will be awarded from INLAX Foundation. Is it a 6 months online or 9 months? No, so it's a 6 month, it's essentially 25 weeks. First semester, the digital semester is for 25 weeks, and the second semester is for 13 weeks, the residential semester. So 25 weeks is 6 months, and 13 weeks is 3 months, 3.5 months approximately. Third round kya hoga? Saurabh, third round is the interview round. That's the interview round in auditions. Yep. Pretty much answered all the questions. Okay, anything else? Is it online due to COVID? Yeah, the auditions are going to happen online. Any other pressing concerns that you have regarding scholarship, payment plans, funds, or crowdfunding? I really want you to ask those questions to better your understanding, because we don't want you to have any queries or any struggle in your mind के मुझे करना है ये कोर्स लेकिन मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है करने के लिए, और अगर मेरे पास पैसे नहीं हैं, so how am I going to fund my education? And that is the reason we are sharing these examples with you, sharing this process with you. And if you have any questions for Falguni, please go ahead and ask. What if we don't get crowdfunding? Okay, so Deepak, in this is really something we have to take on a case-to-case basis. If there is a student who's not able to arrange funds at all through crowdfunding, or if you don't even get a scholarship, and but you are a well-deserving student, school will help you out. I can't tell you the exact procedure right now. Honestly, it's a case-to-case basis. And if you're a well-deserving student, you will definitely get one or the other scholarship. That is for sure. If money is the pressing issue, definitely you need to apply for the need-based scholarship, and school will figure out a way to help you and support you in some way or the other. Are there any other organizations who offer scholarship currently in India? I'm not very sure if there are any other organizations who are offering scholarships to students for performing arts. But you might just want to check Shankar Shesh Foundation once and see if they can help you, because during the pandemic, many people, many organizations just they were putting in their funds to help for the cause, actually, for the COVID cause. So I'm not very sure if I can tell you if there are these organizations who are, and most of these organizations, most of the other organizations are offering scholarships for higher education, like your BA, MA degree, right? But for performing arts, you'll have to recheck. We will try our best to help you. We will check if there are any other organizations that are offering scholarship, and if you can find some help there, we will share those names with you. We will try our best to do that. So do reach out to us. Ralph, would accommodation be provided for residential program? Means that you are going to stay there. It's a residency. You're going to stay there for 3.5 months. So all the faculty and the students are going to stay there. And is the fee inclusive of accommodation? You have to find an accommodation. It's the fee is inclusive of that. So if you see the brochure, we've given a breakdown also. So there is a course fee, your training fee, and there is a residential fees as well. And in the residency, you have proper cottages. You will have your rooms. Of course, there will be 3-4 people staying in one room. We have bunk beds or like multiple beds, just like a hostel room. And then you have a mess there. You will be provided food, and there are other facilities also. There are training halls. So everything will be. That's a complete residency where you just go for 3-4 months, and the faculty is also staying there. The students are also staying there and doing their course. Shankar Shesh Foundation, Mayuri, you can check that. Okay. Yeah. 5:20 right now, 10 minutes more. Please ask if you have any other question. You can just directly unmute yourself. Yes, 3-4 months residential, because in a residential course, you get a lot of time to do the training. You are essentially saving a lot of time in traveling. You are staying at one place. So classes start at 6 a.m., 6:30. And then you also have a lot of time to work with your peers. So if you have a collaborative lab, if there is a performance that you're preparing. So these students who are currently doing the residency, okay, one very important thing. Guys, if you want to speak to the current batch students to know about their experience of the digital course and the residential program, just let me know, or my course advisors. I'm sure you are already in touch with Cherry and Gino and Delson, who are guiding you through the program. So just let them know. We will try and arrange a call with these students, and they can tell you their exact experience. Currently, these students, they finished their digital program in April. Then we gave them a month-long break to settle down, to just refresh, take time off from the training, get back. Then we did their orientation for the residential program. We told them what is the course and how 3-4 months are going to pan out in terms of the residential training. What are the COVID protocols? Because this residency is essentially a COVID bubble. So nobody is allowed to move out of the residency. And that was the initial idea, that if you're going to do a residency, we are going to convert that into a COVID bubble. Otherwise, it's not happening. During COVID times, it was very important. And then we had all those protocols in place. And these students, they reached Bangalore. They were in isolation for 5 days. We had their COVID test done, and all the COVID tests were negative. That was a positive news. And then they started their course on the 9th of August. And each day they have their classes starting at 6:30. And then they have breaks in between. They have a breakfast break, they have a lunch break, they have changeover time between classes where they can just take time off for 5-10 minutes or 15 minutes, go change, freshen up, eat something, and get back for another class. So from 6:30, 7 a.m. in the morning, they're working till 9-10. They have a time during the evening. I think they have 2 hours or 3 hours with them to work on their assignments and to work on the presentations, the weekly TML tasks. So we have weekly TML tasks at DSM. These are theater making laboratories. So each week we give you a topic, and so students get into groups and they perform on every Saturday. So Saturday is your presentation day, and all of us have done that. Falguni's batch has also done that. So that is also a part of your residential program. So uske liye aapko every day you will get at least an hour or 2 hours maybe. So residency में क्या होता है कि आपको ज़्यादा time मिल रहा है because
Hello,
you're
Shruti, I'm
staying
Ralph
there.
speaking. Hello, Shruti, I'm Ralph speaking.
Hi Ralph.
Hi, I had a question. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the response. So I wanted to ask you, is online training, is it because of COVID, or you were having residential for like the entire year?
I'll answer this question, Ralph. Just allow me to complete what I was sharing
Sorry,
already.
sorry, sure.
Yep. So you get a lot of time in a residency. So essentially, whatever modules that we have designed for the residential program, you will be able to finish that in 3-4 months easily. And also in the 6 months online program, we are working on your basics, on your foundation. So when you come to the residency, you will already be ready with those things. You have got that time to work on your own self, that you've got that time for your individual training in those 6 months of digital training. So when you're coming to the residential program, you are ready. You've already done that amount of work. Now you have to work with the ensemble. So whatever modules are there that require you to be a part of the ensemble, they are put in the residential course. And that is why it is for only 3-4 months, and you will be able to cover that. And towards the end of this course, you have a 3 weeks collab lab as well, where you will have a guided play making process. There will be a mentor, there will be a director who will guide you on how to design a performance and how to design a play. And again, the process is you will get into groups, and then you will have to write your own scripts, devise your own performances with the faculty, of course. Okay, let me just wait. Are there any other important questions relating to funding? Rakesh, yes, I have answered this question. And if you don't have any experience in acting, you can apply for scholarship. Graduation qualified compulsory for applying? No, Vivek. The eligibility criteria to apply for the course is age should be minimum 21 years old. Qualifications could be either graduation or equivalent work experience. So even if you're not a graduate, but you've had any kind of work experience, you can still apply for the course. But you need to be at least 21 years at the time of you're filling up your application. And why it's important? Okay, so the idea behind keeping this eligibility criteria is we want all the students who are coming to DSM to come with some kind of experience of the world. And after you're done with your school, when you enter your college, or even if you're not doing a graduation, if you're not doing your college, you do any kind of, you get into any kind of work, maybe you start working somewhere, or maybe you start assisting any person in theater or films or anybody, you perceive the world in a very different way. Because in Indian culture, we have seen this is what we do the till the child is in school. You are completely under the protection of your parents, and they are like, still not an adult. So once you're 18 years old, you're an adult, you perceive the world in a different way, you get more experience. People who are going to college, they get into different kinds of activities. So those 3 years essentially are very important. And that is why we say that that experience that you're gaining in those 3 years, whether you're doing a graduation or whether you're doing anything else, is very important for your training. And that you will understand when you join the course. You can use those experiences in your training. That will really help you. And that awareness of the world that you have, awareness of your own self, because we believe that it gives you a time to delve into your own selves as human beings as well. That is the reason we have minimum age requirement as 21. So graduation is not compulsory. If you've done your graduation, well and good. If not, you have equivalent work experience, that's also counted. Is location decided for residential? Vaishali, this year we are doing a residency in Bangalore. We don't know about next year. If we get the same place for the residency, why not? Because it's a beautiful place, and this place has not had any COVID case for the 1.5 year, for the last 1.5 year, which was a very positive news for us. And that's why we chose this place. And that's why we decided, okay, let's create a COVID bubble here. And we were very, we took all the precautions we can so that all the students who are entering the residency are tested negative. We didn't want to take COVID there, of course. We didn't want to be in a position that, the course gets, because if this is a thing where if you are infected, everyone gets infected. It's not that कि अगर आपको हो गया COVID, so आप withdraw कर लो या drop कर दो, everyone else is going to be fine. So those are the things. And yes, like I said, the residency for the next program that we're doing, that is not finalized. We will try and opt for the same place if available next year. If not, then we will look for another place, but this will be informed to you well in advance. So before you finish your digital semester, you will get to know that where are we going for the distance, because we need to do, as a school also, we need to do that kind of preparation, right? More than you guys, because you guys just have to pack your bags and come to the residency. We have to do a lot of work. Okay, Ralph had a question about, is this course, this digital course is only because of COVID or what? Okay. This question has come to us many a times, and we've answered this in the previous webinars also. So the essential trigger to design this course, yes, it was COVID. Last year when the pandemic happened, to be very honest, nobody had clue as to what is going to be the future of performing arts. Nobody had clue how we are going to transform the training online. And this was the case with all the drama schools across the world. It was not only with DSM. So all the drama schools in India, abroad, they were all looking for the same answers. And what we did was, we reached out to other people. We reached out to other people to understand how they are working. And then we also started a series of conversations where we get to meet these people, to know their firsthand experiences as to what they are doing and how are they dealing with the pandemic. That series is called Andrea's Futures. This is the second season. This is the second season that we are running right now. Falguni is in charge. She's the project coordinator for Andrea's Futures Conversations. We did 19 conversations as part of season 1, and currently we've done 20 conversations in season 2, right? So if you look at these both these seasons, if you listen to all these conversations, you will see a progression. Like, we started in July last year, and at that time when everybody was figuring out things what they were doing and how they're planning to, like, how they're designing their courses and what they're thinking in terms of, are they calling it a 0 year or they want to start their education online. So those were the conversations happen, and there is a development from after that. So each conversation you will find something new. So that has been our main source of information. And right now in season 2, we are addressing other concerns also. So it's not only COVID, we are addressing all other concerns that are affecting us as artists, as drama, as theater makers. So do just watch out this. It's available on our DSM YouTube channel. Just listen to those conversations or just read our blog, because Falguni has been writing wonderful articles and putting all this thing in a write up for all of you for quick access. So if you can't listen to these hour-long, 1.5 hour-long conversations, you can just read those articles. So yes, that has been a major source of information, and we did a lot of research. We spoke to a lot of people. We spoke to people in our own theater community. We have an academic team who designs the course, and then we came up with this online program last year in the month of August. So the answer to Ralph's question is yes, the initial trigger was that, but the course is completely independent of the pandemic. I mean, like, the training is not being compromised. The training that we are doing is not being compromised. So if you're thinking कि जो पहले 1 year का प्रोग्राम होता था, इन पर्सन प्रोग्राम होता था, अब वो पार्टली डिजिटल क्यों किया गया है? यस, वो डिजिटल इसलिए किया गया है क्योंकि अभी कोविड को हम एड्रेस करें. दिस वर्ल्ड इज स्टिल नॉट hasn't got back to normal yet, and we still don't know what is going to happen in November, October, November, when we're predicting third wave. I mean, there are places in India who entered lockdown. We've seen, we are still having a lot of cases at different places in India. So if we open the school right now, it's not a good idea, and we can't do a 1 year residency because then that will become completely unaffordable for the students if we do a 1 year full residency. So the best idea was to do half of the training online, and only those modules have been kept online that we thought we can do online. So the online training focuses a lot on your individual training, which eventually you do even if you're part of that 1 year program. So ask Falguni, she's here to talk about her experience. Even if in that 1 year full-time program, offline program, you still do a lot of individual training as well. So right now you're doing that training as part of the digital program, because you're not meeting all the batchmates in one same place, right? You're meeting them through this computer screen, but you're working in your own spaces. So you will still have those body conditioning classes, you will still have those movement classes, but you will be working in your own space. You will be setting up your own daily riyas, setting up your own foundation, and making your body ready for when you join the residential program, the residential semester. So a lot of this training that you're doing online is focused on your individual training. And of course, we realized this thing that this particular batch who've just finished their online training, they happen to create that ensemble spirit within those 6 months as well. We were unaware of this. We were thinking, how will this happen? I mean, we are doing this training, but then essentially the ensemble training is going to happen when they enter the residency, when they are in one place, right? But these students did very well as part of this course. They were able to create that ensemble spirit. They designed online performances, and they were like amazing performances which you didn't expect. Like as when they culminated those 6 months, they did a performance, and they did other performances as well. We have monthly addas also, monthly performances also, where the students, whoever wishes to perform, they can perform. Kelewadi nights, those are a part of the program. So yeah, so those things happened. Yes, and that is what we've done. So we've only changed the structure of the program. 1 year का एक program था, offline program. उसका एक स्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट था, जैसे वो लेगो बॉक्स आपके क्रिएटेड होते हैं. हमने उसको ब्रेक किया और एक दूसरा स्ट्रक्चर डिजाइन किया, जिसमें वी पुट 6 months digital training and the rest 3-4 months as a residential training. So the training is not being compromised. I hope that answers your question, Ralph.
Yes, it does, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Great. All right, 5:37. Any other questions, guys? I'm happy to answer for another. I'm here for another 2-3 minutes. If you have any questions for Falguni, please go ahead and ask, or otherwise, you know how to reach out to us. I request my course advisors, Cherry and Gino, to just share their numbers in the chat box with everyone. And Falguni has also shared the link for Unrehearsed Futures Conversations. Please do click on this link and read the blog. I'm sure this is going to be really helpful to you guys.
Hi, Shruti. May I ask a question?
Yes, Madhav, please ask.
During this, as one batch is already done with the online course, so what are the challenges faced online, and how did they overcome it? It'd be great if you could give your 2 cents on it. What are the challenges faced online? As this is the first time it's happening online, right? Previously it was residential. So how did you? What is it, and how did you overcome it?
Right. I think the essential challenges were, the main challenges were with the technicals, I believe, internet connection, laptops, because that's very important. We did face connection issues at the beginning of the course, some students. So, however, we've been kind of supporting our students if they need any kind of help, because we do understand you are joining in from different places in India, right? So, and we know at times, like I have the best internet right now, but kabhi kabhi ye bhi kharab ho jata hai when the internet is down or when there is no power. Summers का time चल रहा है North India. It's like कभी कभी transformer अगर काम नहीं कर रहा है आपका. So those are the issues, power failures issues we had. I remember when we started with the course, there was Mumbai was facing a lot of power outage at that time. The first week of the course, that was a challenge. So yes, these things do affect, but then I think we were able to manage all those things because we were in constant touch with our students and we were guiding them, and whatever support they needed from us, we did provide them that support. Students did figure out ways of managing these things. They got a better internet connection, they had a backup also available with them, and though we recommend everyone to join from laptops, because that is essential, laptops or your computer screens, because then only you'll be able to see the facilitator in full screen properly and also see other people who are there in the room, because your mobile screen is very small, right? But as a backup option, we ask students to keep their mobiles available, fully charged and available as well. So if in case of power outage or if they lose connection, they can at least use their mobile data and join class from there. So mobiles are not recommended, but it can be used as a backup option. So those were the challenges. And yes, like I said, we found solutions to that. First 2 weeks, first month, essentially, I would say was a little difficult. First 2 weeks, ideally. But then after that, it was all smooth because we found ways of working around. We all can do that very well. We know that these are the struggles that we're facing, and we just we keep a lot of backup options in place. The second challenge, I think, at one point of time, students started feeling a lot of exhaustion with the computer screen, which is natural. So we don't deny that, yes, of course. But I think that was happening with everyone. That happens with everyone. And even if you're part of that 1 year offline program, you will still feel that exhaustion, because your classes are like from morning 7 to evening 6, 7, 8 to 6, and you're doing a lot of physical work. And in the 1 year offline program, you don't get long breaks. You have a 25-minute breakfast break, you have a 45 minutes lunch break, and you have only 5-minute changeovers between each class. So essentially it's just back to back classes. So by the end of the day, you are completely drained. So when you reach home, you don't have much to, like you can either just focus on your own, like just read the notes, what you did during the class today, have your food, rest well. And that is what we recommend everyone. In the online space, you have this facility because you're at your places, you're not traveling anywhere. So that part is cut down definitely, and you have longer breaks in between. Am I right, Falguni? So that exhaustion you will also feel in that offline program because you're working throughout the day. Yes, with the screen, there is a different kind of exhaustion because you're constantly looking at the screen, so your eyes might hurt after a point of time. So we recommend, please go yourself and just have some eye drops with you. Get your specs changed, use anti-glare lenses. Okay, and during the time when you're doing your movement classes, you're not actually sitting in front of the computer. You're working in the space, right? So you're away from the computer, you're away from your screen. So at that time, it's not going to affect that much. You just have to have a wireless earphone or a speaker so that you can listen to the facilitator, the instructions that the facilitator is giving you, and work on the space. The facilitator will be demonstrating those exercises through the screen, of course, and then you will be performing those exercises in your physical space, in your own space. Right. So that time you just don't have to sit in front of the screen and just explode your eyes. But I would recommend, we recommended this to all our students also. Get your eyes checked, have eye drops available with you, eat well, rest well, take care of your health. And yeah, I think those are the only challenges that we faced. Yeah, those are the main challenges.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, 5:43. Thank you, everyone. If you have more questions, just reach out to us, call us, write an email to us. If you want to speak to Falguni, can we share your number with these people or your email ID if they want to discuss about the crowdfunding campaign? Is that a possibility? Yes. Or you can just directly write an email to us and we can put you in touch with Falguni. That's also you can do. And yeah, that's her email ID. Please note down and write to her if you have any concerns about the crowdfunding campaign and how do you want to set it up or how do you have to write to SOP. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining. And we are doing a workshop this week with Pooja Saru this Saturday. If you haven't signed up for the workshop, do sign up. Pooja is an amazing facilitator and you will not get this opportunity. I will not say anything. Falguni, you talk about Falguni. Pooja taught Falguni's batch, and trust me, you will not get this experience anywhere. She's an amazing facilitator. She's going to work on your preparation as an actor. Sign up for this workshop. I'm telling you, I'm guaranteeing you it's going to be worth it. So great, thank you. I will see you. I hope to see all of you in the workshop. If you can, please do join. Cherry and Gina, I help you. Are available to guide you. If you need any help, just give us a call. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Falguni, for joining in for the session.
No worries. Happy to help. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Bye, guys.